everyone, welcome back to another update. Today we're recapping Monday, February 23rd and Tuesday, February 24th, a high stakes 48 hours capped by President Trump's marathon State of the Union address, the longest on record. We're talking the State of the Union's campaign style tone, the DHS shutdown grinding on with emergency measures and no breakthrough, tariff defiance post SCOTUS loss, and Iran talks inching toward a third Geneva round under strike threats. Let's dive in. Tuesday night delivered the week's centerpiece, President Trump's first full State of the Union of his second term, clocking in at nearly 1 hour 48 minutes, the longest ever. He framed it as a celebration of 250 years of American independence and a golden age, touting economic gains, immigration enforcement successes, federal slashing via DOJ efforts, and military actions. Trump gave himself and Republicans high marks, slammed crazy Democrats on economy and immigration, and highlighted made-for-TV moments, welcoming the gold medal U.S. men's hockey team, reuniting a woman with her Venezuelan uncle freed from Maduro, and threats of very traumatic consequences for Iran if no nuclear deal. There was little outreach to Democrats. Most stayed seated or scowling. Some boycotted for a People's State of the Union rally on the National Mall. Let's dig deeper into the address. On the economy, Trump painted a rosy picture, claiming a turnaround for the ages, with plummeting inflation, lower gas prices, booming stock market, increased oil production, factory jobs, and foreign investment. He touted tax cuts, including on Social Security benefits, proposed ideas like government-backed 401k-style plans for more workers and barring large investors from buying single-family homes, and defended tariffs, calling a recent Supreme Court ruling against some unfortunate, but vowing to continue them. Immigration and crime was a major focus, and Trump defended hardline policies, said the border is now the strongest and most secure in history, highlighted reduced illegal crossings, and emphasized protecting American citizens over illegal aliens. He referenced crime declines, like the historic drop in murder rates, and blamed Democrats for related issues. Trump's remarks on foreign policy were relatively brief, with warnings to Iran about nuclear ambitions, seeking a deal but criticizing their stance, mentions of operations in the Western Hemisphere, peace through strength, and energy dominance. He announced efforts like controlling energy prices via tech commitments and a war on fraud. Republicans largely praised it as energizing and reflective of successes, while Democrats criticized it as out of touch, ignoring real affordability struggles, and overly focused on immigration over everyday concerns. The State of the Union address also featured a heavy emphasis on showmanship and surprises, during which Trump repeatedly paused to honor American heroes, announce or present high-level awards, and orchestrate emotional moments, often drawing bipartisan applause, standing ovations, and USA chants from the chamber. These elements helped extend the speech to its record length while reinforcing themes of national pride, military strength, and winning under his leadership. The Medal of Honor, which is the nation's highest military decoration, was awarded to Captain E. Royce Williams and Chief Warrant Officer Eric Slover. Captain Williams is a 100-year-old Korean War veteran and a World War II Vietnam-era pilot, described by Trump as a living legend for heroic actions in a secret mission. The First Lady assisted in the presentation, earning widespread applause. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is a helicopter pilot who was wounded during the U.S. operation to capture Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. This was framed as recognition for actions above and beyond the call of duty. The Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian honor, was announced for Connor Hellebuyck, who is the goaltender for the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team, fresh off their gold medal win over Canada. Trump invited the entire team into the chamber or press gallery area, sparking USA chants and bipartisan cheers. He joked about his vote being decisive and called it a rare honor, noting only about 12 athletes have received it. The Legion of Merit was given to Scott Ruskin, a Coast Guard rescue swimmer who heroically saved 164 girls during deadly floods in Texas last year. The Purple Heart, which is for those wounded or killed in combat, was awarded to the 2 National Guard members who were shot blocks from the White House in an attack last year. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom's Purple Heart was accepted posthumously by her parents, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf miraculously recovered enough to accept his Purple Heart in person. President Trump surprised Alejandra Gonzalez in the audience by revealing her uncle, Enrique Marquez, a political opponent of Maduro who had been imprisoned in Venezuela, had been freed and was brought to the U.S. for the event. Trump invited him down, leading to an emotional embrace amid applause, highlighted as a win for U.S. foreign policy and peace through strength. Trump honored the memory of Irina Zarutska, whose mother was in attendance, and Charlie Kirk, with Erica Kirk in attendance. He recognized additional figures like a World War II veteran under General Douglas MacArthur and invited various guests, military, first responders, victims' families, to stand or be acknowledged. Democrats' behavior during the address was marked by a mix of boycott, silent defiance, limited applause, heckling from a few members, and visible protests. Trump repeatedly called out Democrats for not standing or applauding, and a small group of Democrats broke from the silent approach. Representative Al Green was ejected early after holding up a protest sign saying Black people aren't apes, implying Trump himself made that video of Democrats as jungle animals that was circulating a couple of weeks ago, and Representative Rashida Tlaib appeared to be saying through her nasty brown teeth, KKK, while people shouted USA. Representatives Ilhan Omar and Tlaib shouted interruptions, and other outbursts included shouts during immigration or policy sections, though these were isolated and quickly overshouted by the majority's restraint. On to the partial DHS shutdown, which has continued into double digits in days. As lawmakers returned Monday without a breakthrough, DHS implemented emergency conservation. FEMA ceased non-disaster work, and TSA suspended courtesy escorts and special privileges, though PreCheck and Global Entry were later stabilized after backlash. ICE and CBP operations persisted via prior year funds, but morale hit hard, with essential workers unpaid and non-essential workers furloughed. Shutdown risks ripple into disaster response amid Northwest blizzards, and Republicans eyed missed paychecks for Friday as pressure, but no formal counteroffer emerged. Switching to tariff talk. Tariff chaos rolled on after the Supreme Court's 6-3 ruling that IEEPA doesn't authorize tariffs, with Trump lashing out at justices and announcing hikes to 15% global levies. Trade Representative Jameson Greer signaled reconstructing via new probes, but the collection of struck-down tariffs ended at midnight on February 23rd. Business groups warned of inflation, and critics marked the pivot. The fight underscores executive limits on trade power ahead of the midterms. Shifting to U.S.-Iran nuclear talk. Diplomacy progressed over the past couple of days, with the third indirect U.S.-Iran talks set for Thursday in Geneva, mediated by Oman. The Iranian foreign minister called a deal within reach if diplomacy is prioritized, and U.S. officials awaited Iran's detailed proposal, which could include possible interim steps like uranium dilution and export for sanctions relief. Trump reiterated preference for diplomacy, but also considered a regime change in Iran amid student protests. He also warned of military action, giving a 10 to 15-day window amid military buildup. The USS Gerald R. Ford arrived in Greece fully loaded ahead of a potential clash with Iran and Iran-fortified sites, with red lines persisting. Let's switch to the Angel Families Remembrance Ceremony, which was held at the White House on Monday. It was an emotional gathering in the East Room where President Trump welcomed families of Americans killed, or in some cases, survivors of attacks, by individuals who entered the United States illegally, commonly referred to as Angel Families. Trump signed a presidential proclamation designating February 22nd as National Angel Family Day. This day marks the second anniversary of the 2024 murder of Laken Riley, a Georgia nursing student killed by an illegal alien, used as a focal point for remembrance. The proclamation honored the families of 62 people killed and 2 survivors of attacks linked to undocumented immigrants. It emphasized remembering lives stolen by criminal illegal aliens and drugs crossing the border, while recommitting to mass deportation efforts and border security. Trump described it as a solemn occasion, spoke directly to grieving families, and one father shared about losing his 19-year-old son. A candlelight ceremony was held, and a military choir sang Amazing Grace. Now it's time for the noteworthy tidbits, which are brought to you today by Old Glory. Let me tell you about them quick. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. All right, let's get back to the tidbits. Former UK Ambassador Peter Mandelson was arrested after his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was exposed, following search warrants at 2 addresses in the Wiltshire and Camden areas. CBS News contributor Dr. Peter Attia resigned from the network after his ties to Jeffrey Epstein were exposed by the files. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani is being highly criticized for requiring more identification to shovel snow than needed to fly. Los Angeles mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt's lawsuit over the Palisades fire dereliction of duty was allowed to proceed. Florida Judge Eileen Cannon blocked the release of Jack Smith's weaponized report on President Trump. The United States Court of Appeals ruled in favor of the IRS sharing data with DHS and ICE to speed up deportations. A judge ruled against dismissing the Utah prosecutors in the case of the assassination of Charlie Kirk by Tyler Robinson, and the path was cleared for prosecutors seeking the death penalty against Robinson. Lastly, the shelter-in-place directive was fully lifted for U.S. citizens stranded in Mexico. Flights have resumed normal operations, public transportation and businesses are back to normal, and no road closures are reported. That's February 23rd and 24th in focus. The State of the Union was a base rallying marathon, but shutdown, tariff, and Iran pressures show no easy wins. Will the address move the needle or deepen divides? Share your takes on Instagram or X at Shades of Jade Pod. If these catch-up episodes are keeping you current, subscribe, review, and share. Thank you for listening and have a great day.